How's it going, everyone? This is Cheetahman91, and today I'm bringing you a new series of videos showing off my DVD and Blu-ray collection. I'm not expecting this to get that many views, but you know what? Yeah, I don't really care. I wanted to do this for a while, so screw it. We're starting out with the Criterion collection because I have quite a few Blu-rays for these. It just seemed like a good starting point, and here's just an example of what a Blu-ray looks like. We'll use Rebecca since it's easiest to see, like the information and whatnot. But we're not going to start out with talking about this one. But here's what the front of a typical Blu-ray looks like, and the back you have like the description, and there's the technical information and all the special features. Like this one has a ton of special features, and if we open the film up, we get a book, in this case, a booklet. Sometimes it's just a folded piece of paper. For a lot of these, all of these always feature like an essay, like information about like the cast and just information about the restoration in general. So yeah, I guess we'll just get started. And first, we're starting out with the oldest film I have. That is 1934's It Happened One Night, directed by. Wait a minute, let me zoom that out. Oops. Directed by the great Frank Capra. This was actually a pretty popular film when it first released. It ended up winning the big five major Oscars: Best Picture, Director, Screenplay. I think this was original. Best Actor for Clark Gable and Actress for Claudette Colbert. But anyways, this film is a romantic comedy. Yeah, not really my cup of tea, but I mostly got this one because the director of who was involved with it, and just its prestige in general is generally considered to be like one of the best comedies ever made, which I don't think it is, but it's still good. I really like the chemistry between the two leads, which obviously for a film like this, that's extremely important. I don't know. I feel like if I give this one a second chance one day, I'll like it better. But for now, it's good, just not great. And moving on, we'll set that off to the side. And next up, we have from 1939, Only Angels Have Wings, directed by the venerable Howard Hawks, and starring the great Cary Grant. And this one's pretty good in my opinion. It's basically about the lives of just a bunch of air mail pilots living in South America. Yeah, obviously it's a Howard Hawks film, so like the dialogue and the interplay between the characters is going to be really good. Which yeah, it's really good in this film. It's not as good as something like say Rio Bravo, which that's probably what this reminds me of the most. Now obviously it's not like Rio Bravo. They're not having to worry about like any like there's no villains in this film or anything, but I don't know. It's just a good comparison. Other positives include like the actual airplane flying when there is actual airplane flying, like, and not just clumsy model work. Yeah, there's quite a bit of model work in this film. It's not aged very well in my opinion. But yeah, this is a great film, and I would recommend checking it out. I guess if you're into like films about aviation, in this case airmail. I guess we'll set Angels Have Wings, and now we will move on to the one we were looking at at the beginning. This is 1940's Rebecca, directed by Alfred Hitchcock, starring Laurence Olivier and Joan Fontaine. And this one, another Oscar winner. This one won, I think, Best Picture and also won Best Cinematography. Both well deserved. I mean, Hitchcock probably should have won Best Director, but that went to John Ford for The Grapes of Wrath. Another good movie, but not as good as this. But yeah, like I said, this is a romantic psychological thriller, which doesn't sound like something personally I'd be interested in, but I don't know. This film's amazing. I mean, the performances are fantastic. The story's great. Just the suspense is up there. It's just I don't know. The cinematography's brilliant. I mean, the performance. Did I already say the performances? Well, hell, we'll just say it again. The performances are excellent. I mean, just can't say anything really bad about this film. It's just well worth watching. One of Hitchcock's best. Not quite top five, but it's pretty close. And I guess we'll set that off to the side. And next up, we have 1941's Here Comes Mr. Jordan, which was directed by, I don't know who Alexander Hall is, but it stars Robert Montgomery and Claude Rains, I think. Yeah, this is basically about a prize fighter who ends up getting killed in a plane accident, but he dies before his time. So Mr. Jordan here finds him a new body to occupy for until he can find a new one. He basically just lives his life as like a rich man for a while. Of course, nobody else knows it's him, but they knows like the change and stuff, and that's sort of where a lot of the comedy comes from. Yes, this is a good movie, but personally, I prefer the '70s remake more, like Heaven Can Wait. I would definitely, yeah, that's the one about the In that case, it's about a football player who dies in a plane crash. And I think that one's just better because it's got better comedy because you have like these villains that just want to kill him, and he's like when he's like taking over the millionaire's body or whatever. Which that movie lacks that. Doesn't really have any real villains, but it's classic old school Hollywood. It's pretty charming. I think this one won an Oscar too for best screenplay. So yeah, overall, just good stuff. And oh, I dropped it. That's okay though. I guess next up we have another one from 1941. This is High Sierra. This is directed by Raoul Walsh, starring Humphrey Bogart, and his really, in my opinion, his breakthrough role. I mean, before this, he was in more of a supporting actor in like a lot of gangster films, so stuff like The Roaring Twenties and Angels with Dirty Faces, and I think he was in The Petrified Forest too. Yeah, this is sort of his breakthrough film, sort of a and also one of the earliest examples of film noir. It's not quite there yet. I mean, in a lot of ways, it still feels like your typical gangster picture, but yeah, I would definitely recommend this one. It's got some great acting. It's got a great car chase for the time period. Plus, if you like heist films, you'll enjoy this too. So yeah, just definitely would recommend this one. And we have one more, I think, from 1941, and that is Sullivans Travels, directed by Preston Sturges, who, yeah, he was a pretty well-regarded director, but this is the only film of his that I've seen before. Anyways, this is a film about a Hollywood director who wants to do a social picture about, how hard it is about poverty and whatnot. But, he's never lived in poverty, so what he does is he just tries to go out and live in poverty. Of course, in the beginning, it's kind of hard because, his entourage is following him around, but eventually he ends up losing him and finds out what it's like for these the hardships that a lot of Americans at the time were facing. Yeah, this is a pretty good comedy drama. I don't know, I really enjoyed it. It has aged poorly in a couple of parts. Like, there's a pretty offensive joke early on in the film involving a black guy. So yeah, just keep that in mind. But yeah, overall, this one's pretty entertaining. Pretty well regarded. Great film about Hollywood. So yeah, check it out. And moving on, we have a real, true film noir. This is 1944's Ministry of Fear, directed by the great German director Fritz Lang. Yeah, I'll be honest, don't remember too much about this film. I know it takes place in World War II, and obviously it involves Nazis and like spies and stuff, but it's been, I don't know. When I remember this movie, it's good, but not great. But I can't really say anything about it because I don't really remember anything, to be honest. So yeah, we'll just move on to something else, I guess. I don't know. I need to watch this. This is another one I definitely need to watch again. Okay, here's one that I have seen, pretty recently. I saw this one like late last year. This is 1944's Arsenic and Old Lace, another Frank Capra film and another Cary Grant film. This is actually based off based off a Broadway play of the same name. Yeah, one interesting thing about this film is that it was actually filmed in 1942, but they weren't able to release it until after the original Broadway play ended its run because it was like really really popular. But yeah, this is a great film, sort of like a very dark comedy. Definitely doesn't feel like something Capra would do. It doesn't have like a lot of the optimism of his other films, which I can appreciate that. Going for something different. I guess it's a good one to watch, in my opinion, around Halloween. Because it's sort of like got like a horror aesthetic to it. I mean, one of the characters looks like Boris Karloff. I mean, Karloff was actually in the original play, but they couldn't. I guess Universal, whoever like had his contract, didn't want to loan him out, so they got a lookalike. But yeah, just a great comedy in general. And yeah, we're almost done for this part. We just have a couple more to get through. Next up, we have 1945's Weaver to Heaven, which is our first color film. Yep, the old 3-strip Technicolor. Anyways, this is a great film. Yeah, it's basically about this woman who marries this man, but she's like really, really, really obsessed with him. Yeah, it's honestly like it's pretty disturbing. Yeah, I mean, this is actually a really good film. Like I said, as far as like genre wise, it's sort of a mix of multiple genres, but the best way I would describe it is more like a psychological thriller with, yeah, just really just a excellent film. Well, not excellent, great. Yeah, really solid. I mean, there's some pretty unlikable characters in it, but by the end, you do feel sorry for like the main guy. I mean, he went through a lot of shit. Well, it is sort of his fault, though. But I won't get too much into it. Just definitely check this one out. This was also, if I'm not mistaken, 20th Century Fox's highest grossing film of the 1940s and one of the highest grossing films of the decade. So, yeah, pretty big back then. So, yeah, definitely worth checking out. You know, because it made a ton of money and it's held up extremely well, in my opinion. And I guess we got one more here. This is 1946's Notorious, another Hitchcock film. Another one with Cary Grant, although Grant's not featured on the cover. It's got Ingrid Bergman. I think that's Claude Rains is the guy. He's sort of like the villain of this movie. Yeah, this is basically another thriller, like sort of a it's involving like ex-Nazis or whatever. I think it involves like diamonds or something. It's been a while since I've seen it. I need to watch this one again too. But I will say this. I actually tried watching this movie a few years ago. Was not that interested in it. But then I got the Blu-ray and went through the whole thing, and I'm glad I sat through it because this is another great Hitchcock film. Not his best, not as good as a lot of people say it is, but still, it's still rock solid. You know, great performances as always. You know, it's got plenty of tension. Yeah, well worth checking out. And with that, that is the end of part 1 of the Criterion Collection video. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you next time.